In the quiet depths of space where sunlight fades into eternal dusk, something has entered our neighborhood. A traveler from the dark between stars. It carries no message, no light of its own, only silence. Astronomers first noticed it cutting across the void like a phantom, steady, deliberate, and entirely uninvited. They named it 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar visitor to cross our solar system. But even among such rare cosmic guests, this one feels different. Its path is too smooth, its rotation too balanced, its presence unsettlingly calm. For a moment, humanity once again looks outward, reminded of how small we are within the great machinery of the cosmos. But curiosity quickly turns to confusion. Instruments detect anomalies, mass that doesn't match its motion, light curves that refuse to obey physics. It's as though the object is whispering riddles in a language made of mathematics. Could this be merely another frozen relic? A fragment cast adrift from some ancient system light years away? Or is it something else entirely? Something that was made to travel? As the data begins to accumulate, one man steps forward with a question that few dare to ask aloud, a question that might change how we see the universe itself. And on October 11th, 2025, that man, Professor Avi Loeb, publishes a set of calculations that send quiet shockwaves through the scientific world. And what he finds defies everything we thought we knew about how matter behaves in space. On October 11th, 2025, the world of astrophysics paused for a moment. Professor Avi Loeb, known for challenging the boundaries of scientific comfort, released a new paper, one that turned quiet curiosity into quiet disbelief. His data on 3I Atlas revealed numbers that refused to agree with one another. The object's estimated mass was colossal, more than 30 billion tons. Yet its gravitational pull was faint, almost ghost-like. It was as if a mountain were floating on air, breaking the rules that have guided celestial mechanics for centuries. For something that large, its gravity should bend the paths of nearby bodies, tugging gently at Mars, at passing asteroids, even at the dust around it. But there was nothing. No measurable distortion, no pull, only stillness. Loeb's equations pointed to one impossible conclusion. 3I Atlas behaves as if it isn't fully there. Its interior, perhaps, is empty, or filled with material lighter than anything known in nature. Could it be a natural fluke, sculpted by the improbable hand of cosmic chance? Or could it be evidence of design, something built rather than born? As Loeb stared at the data, he recognized a feeling he had known once before. In 2017, with another interstellar visitor that refused to act like a rock. And so, memories of Oumuamua returned, that first visitor from the stars that twisted science and belief alike. Because if 3I Atlas is hollow, perhaps we've seen its kind before. In science, numbers rarely lie, but sometimes they whisper something no one wants to believe. Avi Loeb's new calculations painted a picture that broke the symmetry of reason. 3I Atlas, the interstellar wanderer, did not behave like a solid object. Its rotation was too smooth, too controlled, as though balanced by design. Yet its gravity was weaker than it should be, almost like it was lighter on the inside. Hollow. If this were a typical comet or asteroid, its mass would match its motion. But here, the data told another story. Imagine spinning two spheres, one a solid stone, the other an empty shell. They move differently, sound different, feel different. Loeb's measurements showed 3I Atlas belonged to the second kind. Could this be a natural formation? A cosmic bubble carved by millennia of collisions and decay? Or is it something else? Something made to endure the void? A vessel, perhaps? Ancient, derelict, drifting between the stars long after its purpose was forgotten. The thought lingers like an echo. What if this object isn't a messenger from another world, but a monument to one that no longer exists? As telescopes continue to track its silent journey past Mars, humanity is left staring into a mirror of mystery, an empty shell reflecting our own longing to explore what lies beyond. And for Avi Loeb, This wasn't the first time the cosmos had whispered such impossible possibilities. The memory of Oumuamua, the first interstellar visitor, began to stir once more. Before 3I Atlas, there was another, a slender, tumbling fragment of mystery that entered our solar system in 2017. Astronomers called it Oumuamua, meaning a messenger from afar arriving first. It came and went so quickly that humanity barely had time to study it, leaving behind more questions than answers. Unlike any comet or asteroid ever seen, Oumuamua didn't behave as physics expected. It accelerated, but without a visible tail, no jets of gas or dust pushing it forward. Its shape, inferred from its reflected light, was bizarre, long and flat, more like a shard than a sphere. Some called it an interstellar iceberg. Others whispered, could it be something else? Among the few who dared to ask openly was Avi Loeb. He proposed that perhaps Oumuamua wasn't natural at all, but a fragment of technology, a piece of engineered material crossing interstellar distances. His idea drew controversy, even ridicule. Yet years later, with 3I Atlas defying expectations once more, that theory no longer feels so far-fetched. Could these two visitors, arriving 8 years apart, be related? Two artifacts from a vanished civilization, drifting like cosmic messages in bottles, caught by our star's gravity for just a brief hello? If so, they might not be anomalies, but patterns, signs of something larger weaving through the galactic dark. And as scientists debate what's entering our solar system, another mystery unfolds. Not in the sky, but right here on Earth, at the heart of NASA's most guarded launch sites. While astronomers gaze outward, tracking what enters our solar system, another mystery unfolds much closer to home. At NASA's launch facilities, where humanity reaches toward the stars, strange visitors have been seen watching back. Shanaz Soni, a rocket scientist who has worked on space station systems and propulsion tests, has stepped forward with an unsettling testimony. She claims that during major rocket launches, unidentified craft often appear, not by accident, but seemingly on cue. According to her, these objects move with precision, intelligence, and awareness of what's about to happen. They arrive without sound, hover at impossible angles, and vanish just as quickly as they appear. No propulsion, no heat signature, no logical explanation. For the engineers and technicians who witnessed them, these weren't distant lights. They were phenomena that challenged their understanding of flight itself. Could these unknown craft be observing us or monitoring our steps beyond Earth? And if so, why do they appear only when humanity attempts to leave the cradle of its home world? Perhaps the same intelligence that sends objects like 3I Atlas into our skies is also watching from the shadows, not interfering, but quietly acknowledging that we are beginning to touch the edges of their domain. And when Shanaz Soni finally spoke about what she and her colleagues witnessed during those launches, her account revealed details so specific, so technical, that even skeptics had to stop and listen. Imagine standing on the edge of the launch pad, the air trembling with the pulse of ignition, the ground humming beneath your feet. That's where Shanaz Soni spent years of her career, watching the boundary between Earth and the stars flicker to life. But what she describes isn't just the controlled chaos of a rocket launch, it is what appeared above it. She recalls the nights when the sky seemed alive, as if aware of what humanity was about to attempt. On more than one occasion, engineers reported bright, silent forms hovering in the upper atmosphere, shimmering like liquid metal, then vanishing without a trace. No sonic boom, no radar return, just an unspoken presence. To Soni and her team, these weren't random anomalies. They felt coordinated. The strange objects never interfered. They never harmed or disrupted a launch. Instead, it was as if each liftoff had been quietly observed, granted permission by something unseen. Could these intelligences be custodians of space, ensuring no civilization rises too fast? Or perhaps silent witnesses, waiting for us to reach a level of awareness we can barely imagine? For those who have seen it firsthand, the feeling is unforgettable, a sense that we are not launching alone. And then came the night when a camera, positioned high above the pad, captured something undeniable. a moment when observation turned into contact. For Shahnaz Soni, the mystery stopped being about hardware and propulsion. It became something far stranger: awareness. She began to wonder if what appeared in the sky wasn't a machine at all, but a mind. Perhaps these luminous presences weren't crossing spacing, perhaps they were crossing thought, manipulating consciousness the way gravity bends light. It sounds impossible, until you remember that even our best physicists admit the universe doesn't run on matter alone. It runs on information. Ancient civilizations understood this intuitively. To the Egyptians, stars were souls of gods. To the Vedic sages, the cosmos itself was a living, breathing consciousness, a sea of awareness in which reality flickered like a dream. And now, quantum theory whispers the same question those ancients once asked. Is the universe thinking? If consciousness is fundamental, then maybe these entities don't arrive from elsewhere. They manifest wherever attention invites them. What if contact isn't a meeting of species, but a merging of minds? Soni described moments during launches when she felt watched, not in fear, but in recognition, as though the cosmos was aware of her gaze, aware of humanity reaching upward. Are we, unknowingly, participants in a dialogue that began long before our first rocket ever left the Earth? And if consciousness itself can bridge the stars, then what happens when the bridge opens wider and something finally responds? In 2003, a once classified document quietly surfaced on the CIA's digital archives, titled Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. It was written in 1983 during the height of the Cold War, yet its focus wasn't on weapons or espionage, it was on consciousness. According to the paper, human awareness could, under the right conditions, transcend the boundaries of space and time. The report described a process, rhythmic sounds and altered brain states, that allowed subjects to experience what it called non-physical reality, a place where thought and energy became interchangeable. At first glance, it reads like mysticism dressed in military jargon. But the mathematics within, referencing quantum fields, holographic universes, and energy resonance, paints a more chilling possibility. What if consciousness isn't just an observer, but a vehicle? Could awareness itself travel across dimensions the way a spacecraft crosses space? And if that's true, then perhaps the phenomena we chase in the sky are simply minds, using the same physics the Gateway paper hinted at. Entities that don't move through space at all, they shift through perception. The deeper you read, the more it feels less like science fiction and more like an instruction manual for reality itself. Are the secrets of 3i Atlas written not in the stars, but within us, waiting to be remembered? If consciousness can journey beyond matter, then maybe 3i Atlas isn't just an object. Maybe it's an invitation, and someone, somewhere, is waiting for us to answer. In 1801, a quiet English scientist named Thomas Young performed a simple test. He shone light through two narrow slits, expecting predictable beams. But what appeared instead was impossible. Waves of light interfered with each other, forming a delicate pattern of shadows and color, a cosmic fingerprint that whispered a secret. Reality changes when you look at it. Over a century later, the experiment was repeated with single particles, and still, the same riddle persisted. When unobserved, matter behaved like waves, fluid, infinite, uncertain. But the moment a conscious observer looked, the pattern collapsed. The wave became a point. Observation itself decided what was real. If awareness can alter the behavior of particles, what else might it command? Could it reshape gravity? Or bend the space-time fabric we once thought immutable? Imagine a civilization that understood this truth, not as theory, but as practice. They wouldn't need engines or fuel, or the burden of acceleration. Their vessels would think themselves across the cosmos, folding through dimensions the way thought moves between memories. Perhaps that's why 3i Atlas moves as it does, not bound by Newton's equations, but by something subtler, something alive. Physics doesn't forbid the impossible, it only waits for us to understand it. And if consciousness can steer the stars, then maybe the final answer isn't about where 3i Atlas came from, but why it found us. Across the millennia, humanity has looked to the sky and sensed more than mere light and distance. Ancient Vedic texts describe a universe alive with awareness, where thought and reality interlace like threads in an infinite tapestry. Plato spoke of the anima mundi, the world's soul, binding all existence into a living, conscious whole. Modern physics, in its own language of equations and experiments, seems to echo these same truths. Quantum entanglement, wave-particle duality, and the role of the observer hint that the cosmos is not inert. It responds, it participates. Reality bends under attention, as if consciousness itself is a force of nature. Could it be that what we perceive as interstellar visitors are not explorers of matter, but navigators of awareness? Their silence, their precise movements, and their patterns of appearance may be less about conquest and more about observation, learning, or even dialogue. Across every culture, in every epoch, humans have intuited this connection, that awareness shapes the universe. Perhaps 3i Atlas and its predecessors are not anomalies, but emissaries of a principle we are only beginning to grasp. If true, then our understanding of exploration must expand. Not merely rockets and telescopes, but attention and consciousness may be the final frontier. And as we reach the end of this journey through observation, theory, and wonder, we are left with a single, haunting question. What does it all mean for humanity, and what comes next? As the threads of investigation converge, a subtle pattern begins to emerge. Shanaz Soni emphasizes that nothing in this vast puzzle occurs in isolation. Interstellar visitors like 3i Atlas, unexplained craft near launch sites, and decades of government research into consciousness may all be strands of the same unseen web. Documents, eyewitness accounts, and experimental physics form a lattice, a network that stretches across time, space, and even the limits of perception. Each data point, when considered alone, seems isolated, but together they suggest intent. Could these phenomena be coordinated or at least guided by a single intelligence, one operating on a scale and with a subtlety far beyond human understanding? It is tempting to dismiss patterns as coincidence, to cling to comfort in randomness. But the universe has always surprised us. When patterns repeat, when anomalies cluster in time and space, the question becomes unavoidable. Who, or what, is orchestrating this? Soni invites us to step back and see the bigger picture. The interstellar objects may not be passive rocks, the craft may not be purely mechanical, and the research programs may not be isolated experiments. Each element interacts, resonates, and overlaps, forming a narrative that stretches from Earth into the cosmos, and perhaps beyond the limits of physical law itself. Could this be the first glimpse of a consciousness guiding the universe, nudging civilizations toward understanding, observation, or contact? And as we trace this web of events and intelligence, one ultimate question lingers. What does it mean for humanity as we reach outward, both physically and in thought? The more we study 3i Atlas, the stranger it becomes. Its spin is precise, yet irregular. Its gravity is unexpectedly weak, as if it carries a secret inside. Could this simply be an anomaly of nature? Or is there something more deliberate at play? A message encoded in motion? Consider the possibility. A civilization far older and wiser than ours could use mathematics as a universal language. Perhaps 3i Atlas rotates, drifts, and accelerates not at random, but in patterns designed to be deciphered by those capable of noticing. The cosmos itself becomes a canvas, the object a brushstroke of intelligence across interstellar space. It is a humbling thought. What if we are witnessing a signal, not in radio waves but in physical movement, a message that travels across light years without sound, without light, without apparent communication, a whisper from the stars, waiting for a civilization to grow curious enough, patient enough, to understand it. In this way, 3i Atlas may be more than a visitor. It may be a teacher, nudging us to see the universe differently, not merely as observers, but as interpreters of the subtle languages woven into reality itself. And as we contemplate the possibility of a message hidden in motion, one final question emerges. What should humanity do with this silent invitation from the stars? As we peer into the cosmos, we often think of ourselves as the watchers, charting trajectories, measuring light years, and decoding signals. Yet perhaps the universe is watching us in return. The more we observe, the more anomalies arise. The more we probe, the more the fabric of reality seems to shift under scrutiny. Could it be that our very attention is part of the equation? That by observing 3I Atlas or any interstellar phenomenon, we participate in a subtle interaction, a cosmic dialogue we scarcely comprehend? The observer may not be passive. Observation itself might ripple through space-time, inviting response from forces or intelligences far beyond our reckoning. In this light, humanity appears as a young species, awakening under the gaze of something far older and wiser. Perhaps we are not merely explorers, but students, learning the rules of a universe that blends physics, consciousness, and intention. And if the cosmos responds to attention, what does that imply for our future? How much of what we see is shaped by us, and how much shapes us in return? As we confront these questions, we arrive at a final humbling reflection. The universe may not only be stranger than we imagine, it may be far more aware than we have ever dared to consider. As we step back from the intricate data, the calculations, and the testimonies, a larger picture begins to emerge. One that reflects not only the universe, but ourselves. What does 3I Atlas truly reveal? Is it merely a visitor from the stars, or a mirror held up to humanity's own curiosity and potential? Every observation we make, every question we ask, may be part of an invitation, an opportunity to evolve not just technologically but consciously. The stars are not passive, they are active participants in a dialogue, echoing the questions we carry in our minds. Perhaps these interstellar mysteries exist to awaken something dormant within us, the capacity to perceive reality as a living, interconnected system. To see that observation shapes experience, that awareness is not incidental, but fundamental. Are we alone in the universe, or are we being quietly guided toward a deeper understanding of consciousness itself? And if these visitors are a reflection, then what do they see when they look at us? A species at the dawn of insight, standing at the threshold of cosmic comprehension. As we consider our place within this web of phenomena, we are left with a final contemplation. The stars may not only reveal the universe, they may reveal who we truly are. Atlas continues its silent journey through the solar system, a solitary traveler threading the void between Mars and Earth. It moves without sound, without announcement, and yet its passage leaves a quiet mark, a ripple of questions in the minds of those who watch. What is it? Where did it come from? And most provocatively, why does it behave in ways that challenge everything we thought we understood? Perhaps the most important question is not about the object itself, but about us. What if the universe is not an empty stage upon which life plays, but an aware participant, observing, responding, and perhaps nudging us toward understanding? Every telescope, every observation, every careful calculation may be part of a larger dialogue we are only beginning to sense. In this moment, standing beneath the vast canopy of stars, we are invited to reflect, to consider that our curiosity, our attention, and our consciousness might itself be part of the cosmos's design. Could we be learning to see as it sees, to understand as it understands, to participate as it participates? The universe remains patient. It drifts, silent yet attentive, while we continue to awaken. And so, as the camera pans across distant stars and soft ambient music swells, we leave the question open, inviting each observer to ponder their place in this cosmic conversation.